This week, we are talking about yet another way that artificial intelligence is already revolutionizing um, our society.
Mm-hmm.
It was weird because I was just thinking about this the other day, and then I see two news pieces on it in one day. Is it because of AI? The jury, that one, we'll see, to be determined.
Mm-hmm.
But, but no, actually, this is really cool because uh, AI is going to be used for visual effects and for CGI in filming. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But the power goes even beyond that. And that's something we're going to talk about later in this episode. But first, we want to start off with the fact that people are going to use it for visual effects, for facial replacement, even entire bodies can be replicated, right? So you won't see people walking around with all those balls all over their
The dots.
clothes. Wait,
Yeah,
what did you
they're
say?
not in the mocap
Yep.
in the mocap suits.
Yeah, no more motion capture. It literally can just be you in your normal clothes, and this can assess your movements, your facial structure, your facial gestures, and create whatever character rendering that fits your shape.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's really wild, and it's going to transform movie making. And I think that there are probably some concerns as to, because it can even do and first of all, the possibilities on that are endless. You could literally have, I could look like Harrison Ford on camera.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
but I could also sound like Harrison Ford on camera with AI.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's gotten really good.
Yeah, and as a tease, um James Earl Jones, right, has been the voice of Darth Vader ever since the first Star Wars came out. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's nuts. I mean,
It is.
that's crazy. I mean, in 2022, Kenobi comes out. He's still the voice of Darth Vader. That's insane.
Yeah.
They are. He has now retired from that, and he has given them the rights to his voice recordings, so AI can analyze his voice, and they can use his voice on any future production, film, whatever that has Darth Vader in it.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I could be talking and sound like Darth Vader, which is crazy,
It is.
even without an allergy attack. It's pretty wild. So, um, probably the concerns for a lot of people are, how can I trust what I'm actually watching? I have a lot of thoughts on that. I think it's really interesting. It's an interesting proposition, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then we also want to dive into the future of movie making in general. Joe Russo, one of the Russo brothers, really good filmmakers, says that in 2 years, AI could make a whole entire movie. It's kind of weird to think about.
Yeah.
Maybe not too foreign if you really think about it right now. So we want to talk about that and a whole lot more. So let's go ahead and get into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, did you see I made that one reel? It went live yesterday. And like, you yawn in it, and for whatever reason, the motion it sensed it and like pans over to you. And
Mm-hmm.
so in the reel I edited, I was like, big yawn. Like right when you yawn, like that quick, it goes away. Um, all right, let's go ahead and get into this. 3, 2, 1. What's going on, everybody? I'm John,
And I'm Dennison.
and this is the catch up. Oh god. Okay. Oh yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. 3, 2. Whoa, that was close. 1. Before we get into our topic, I want to, because I didn't remind you last week, I want to go ahead and remind you the 3 best ways to support this show. Number 1, give us a rating and review. There's your one. For example, that leave us a rating and review wherever you're listening, wherever you're watching. Let us know what you think of the episode and the show as a whole. We are always continuing to push ourselves, be better hosts, and grow in the topics that we discuss. And AI is the talk of the town right now. So we really want to know what you think about all of it. Let us know in the ratings and reviews, wherever you're listening, wherever you're watching. You can do that, and subscribe if you like us. Number 2 is get on the Facebook, get on the YouTube channel, jump on the live streams with us. You get to discuss each topic with us in real time. Every week we go live on Thursday night, and we want to know what you have to say about what we're talking about. It'd be a great way to grow our discussion and be able to catch up with you in real time. And number 3, oh man, there it is. Head over to our shop if you want to support us monetarily. We do pay to host this show and to host some merch. And we want you to get something cool out of it as well if you do choose to support us monetarily. We got some good merch over at our shop. And the best part is all of this is now in the Linktree wherever you're listening, wherever you're watching. So you have one place that you have to click on to find any of the things that I just mentioned. So with that said, man, let's go ahead and get into it. Yeah, so I find this really interesting. I want to know what you think about the idea of, say, for example, and for me, this is why I guess I'll spoil my opinion. Why I don't really think it's too big of an issue that they're using AI to do these things. 2015 is the first time I remember seeing this. Star Wars Episode 7, right? Most of us went to see it because we all thought it was going to be good, and and they used some form of deep fake technology to bring back some of the X-Wing pilots from Return of the Jedi and Empire Strikes Back from the early 80s, right? It's obviously not the same actors, but they were able to make it look and sound just like them. And one of them, if I remember right, had passed away. No, I'm sure they got consent to do that, of course, but in The Mandalorian, I don't know. To be honest, Star Wars is the only thing I've ever seen this happen in, so that's why I'm mentioning Star Wars. But in The Mandalorian, Mark Hamill appeared at the end of the first season, but it was young Mark Hamill. It looked like he did in the 80s. But it was actually him, but they were able to replicate that, not with makeup, but with visual effects. So to me, this just seems like it'd be a more accurate way to do something like that. But what do you think?
Yeah, no, I think so. I think it just kind of goes to show you that we've already been kind of using this technology, and it's just evolving in a different way than I guess what we would have expected. But I can easily see that us using AI for a lot more stuff when it comes to filmmaking to speed up the process, to really give us the opportunity to be able to break our limits, because I feel like nowadays we have limitations because of just what we have at our disposal, where it be money aspect or others. I feel like AI kind of can give us that opportunity to like break free of that, especially when it comes to like man hours, when it comes to editing a lot of these things, right? Because Rogue One was also one where they used AI to make I forget the actor's name or the actress's name, but to have like a younger version of Princess Leia.
Yeah, that's right. Carrie Fisher. Was that AI?
That was because they used it to they used a little bit of AI to like reverse or do some something similar to de-age like they did with Mark Hamill.
So in that case, this has been around for a little bit, since 2015. I think what is making this so interesting now is that you don't have to wear anything. And like we mentioned in the intro, you don't have to have any motion capture units on you at all. You just walk around. It analyzes your face, analyzes your cadence, your steps, and it's able to replicate that. Much like we hear with the music, I actually did find out more after we talked about the Drake AI stuff last week. In the case of that song, and really any other Drake AI song you've heard,
Mm-hmm.
or I should to clarify, any original AI song that you've heard, what they do is they either find a vocalist or they themselves are a vocalist that sounds similar to that artist,
Mm-hmm.
and they sing as the artist would have, and then they overlay that.
Ah, okay. That makes
They
sense.
overlay that AI effect that then transfers it into exactly what that artist would sound like. So in the case of acting, I imagine it would be something similar, at least right now,
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
what's interesting to me is, oh, well, actually, go ahead, man. What were you going to say?
No, go ahead. You got it.
What's interesting to me is some of this technology is actively available. I could go on one of the websites right now and create an account and use this technology in my own video editing. Now, granted, it takes skill and it takes a lot of processing horsepower.
Yeah.
But, if I wanted to turn this into me interviewing an alien, right?
Mm-hmm.
The alien looks and sounds just like you, then I could do that. It's kind of wild.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
it is. I mean, and we've also kind of seen a little bit of this from like deep fakes, right?
yes.
I think that was probably one of the first ways we had seen this happen, or really seen this kind of being publicized was with deepfakes. Now, of course, it wasn't with voices, but it was just with faces, and you could fully move, and it would still keep that. I'm sure a lot of people have also seen the guy who did it to mimic Tom Cruise, right?
Yeah. That's what I
Yeah,
was about to mention. That one blew up, man.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, too. I think that, which we can get those concerns now, I guess. I think people are concerned about this kind of stuff for a couple of reasons. One is the continual, I'm concerned because AI is going to take jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just another way to do it. Not only would it take the jobs of actors who I have formed this fictional relationship with,
Mm-hmm.
this
Parasocial
attachment to, I should
relationship
say.
going.
Wait,
Yeah.
what'd you say?
Parasocial relationship with.
Yeah, exactly. Man, that's a college word right there.
Exactly. Got those big words, man.
Uh, that's one of those college graduate words right there. And then you have on top of that, well, actually, I lost my train of thought, man.
Oh man, I'm sorry. I hit you with that $30 word, man,
You
and
did, man.
it
Yeah, I know.
got
I
you.
didn't have the cash to say that thing, so I was like, dang, it sucked all the brain power right out of me hearing that word. But yeah, no, I think it's that's right. So the concern about yes, this parasocial relationships that you have with these actors or actresses,
Mm-hmm.
taking that away from them, taking away jobs. The Screen Actors Guild has already said we stand firm with our, the people we represent to make sure they don't lose jobs, anything like that. I don't think that this is um, a threat of that. And in fact, the creator of the technology of one of the news pieces that I watched about this, he said, I'm an actor myself. I'm not going to put myself out of work, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And what he said, and I want to know your thoughts on this, like what possibilities there are. What he said is he thinks that this could actually give actors who wouldn't play some more, physical roles, right?
Mm-hmm.
The ability to do so.
Mm. Okay.
Because you think about, like, okay, because I'm a Marvel fan, I'm going to use this as an example. But Hulk in the first Hulk was not that actor. Man, I'm blanking on names right now. Forget what his name is. But
Mark
then
Ruffalo?
no, not Mark Ruffalo.
No.
The Incredible Hulk was a different actor, and then they got rid of him for Mark Ruffalo.
Well, yeah. Well, sorry, I thought you were saying like he wasn't Mark Ruffalo. It was this other guy or whatever like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly. But anyway, but I also meant like Hulk didn't look anything like him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then in the Avengers movie, for the most part, which is Mark Ruffalo, but for the most part, especially in the fighting scenes, you don't really see his face. And that
Mm-hmm.
was all VFX. That was not any sort of representation of Mark Ruffalo at all. But later, as the movies go on, it becomes like a blend of his face with the Hulk body.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see that. And he's wearing these motion capture things and all that. So he still has to have some level of physicality, right?
Yep.
But then Harrison Ford is going to play a character in the Marvel movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's rumor he's going to play like a Red Hulk. It's kind of hard to explain, but he himself would be kind of like another Hulk. Okay.
Okay.
Now he's 80 years old, right?
Yep.
So he's not going to be able to move like a Hulk would. But if he, with the power of AI, they perhaps could scan him and then create their own motion with this rendering of what a Harrison Ford Hulk would look like, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I could see that. I think that would be cool.
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of all the possibilities. I think they're mostly positive. I don't know.
I mean, and the other possibility is also is it gives more actors, aspiring actors, opportunities to be able to do more, right? Do more with less recognition, or I should say, um, be able to get roles and be able to say get cast in certain roles or whatever like that without having to have the same fame factor or certain things or whatever like that, similar to like what you said with the less demanding like physical portion. But I think also it makes it more accessible for amateur filmmakers, right, who can't afford so much stuff. But who knows, maybe they themselves, right, you have an opportunity to where, not saying that this hasn't been done, because there have been plenty of stuff that's been done like this, but you have a higher opportunity for amateur filmmakers to be able to make a movie almost entirely by themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you could have AI help generate like B-roll and have it help you generate other things like um, other things like
Well, like storyboarding,
yes,
yeah, to plan out the shots, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
exactly, storyboarding, script writing, stuff like
Mhm.
that. So you could have it do these kind of really interesting things outside of what you normally would get.
Yeah. Well, and that's something Denson and I were talking before we went live. I'm on a waiting list for this as it becomes available, but Adobe, with their video editing software, is going to release something that will do exactly that. It has AI. Um, you can not only storyboard, right? So if you have a script, you feed it into this, it will storyboard the whole thing,
Mm-hmm.
which is crazy. But then you could also have it 3D render that entire storyboard too. Is
Yeah,
that not insane?
that is insane.
It's
That is
nuts. And
insane.
so then from there, you can have one shot, like say you did an interview, you need B-roll for that interview. It will take what the transcript of that is, and then look at the B-roll you shot and automatically film that or fill that in and cut it for you. You can do instant editing by being like, hey, make this shot look like golden hour, and it will do it. And you'll be like, brighten this person's face, and it will do it. That to me, like, is a little different than what we're talking about, because I don't think that changes anybody's job. I don't think that is like a because I think what some people are going to be concerned about is being like, I went to see a movie with Tom Hanks in it, but I can't be sure that was Tom Hanks the whole time. That could have been somebody else, and they had AI making it look like it was Tom Hanks, you know? But with the filmmaking side of things, or at least the amateur filmmaking side of things, that just makes your work so much better, you know?
Yeah,
It's the same
exactly.
thing with people that use ChatGPT for writing. You know, I saw this very successful businesswoman. She spoke to a class here in Wichita. She used ChatGPT to formulate her speech.
Wow.
And she admitted that because one of the students asked her, but she said, but don't use it for your schoolwork, you know? And I mean, outside of the obvious reasons why I would agree with that, I completely agree with that, because you have to have some ground level of knowledge to still be good. You can't just let this stuff do the work for you.
Exactly. Yeah. You need the base level at least
Yeah.
before you can really, get into it. So yeah, I think for sure, like, you can use it. It's like we've talked about at the very beginning when this stuff started coming out. I think we'll just start seeing it becoming more of a tool that people can use to be able to make a lot more things accessible. I think we even talked about this a little bit last week, how much these AI chatbots as well as other things are making so much information, as well as so much like other things that would have been out of most people's grasp, um, actually reachable, like obtainable, something that they can actually do. Going back to our example of the amateur filmmaker, these amateur filmmakers can finally get off the ground these projects, that they've wanted to do, these fan projects of, like, say, their favorite show, and they always wanted to have this to happen or this to happen, and they got a green light to do certain things, but they don't have the funds, right? They don't have the
Yeah.
funds. They don't have the prowess to be able to find certain people or whatever like that. All that.
Well, without a doubt. And yeah, I mean, that is actually one of the biggest things I saw, is that independent filmmakers are already using this technology, you know? And again, I'm using something different when I describe that. Like, for that example, I'm specifically talking about, you have, are you familiar with IFC, like Independent Film Club
Yeah.
television? Yeah, that TV station, like something you would see on there, could
Mhm.
have access to this kind of stuff, which is the same technology that Disney or Paramount or any of the big ones are going to use. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It really is crazy, actually. And which I don't know if they use any AI in this at all or not, but I learned this about Top Gun, the new Top Gun, not too long ago. But
Mhm.
when near the beginning of the movie, that experimental aircraft lifts off, right? And it goes right over Ed Harris's character. It like knocks him back a little bit. If you look down, you can see him get knocked back, and you can actually see this building that he's standing next to. The roof gets lifted off of it, and that wasn't supposed to happen, but that was all real. What wasn't real was that experimental aircraft.
Mhm.
But what they did was they did a masking on an F-18 of that experimental aircraft. So that was actually all real. It was just an F-18, not the fake thing. And I think I don't know if they used AI for that, but these are the type of things that these AI will benefit with. Now, I'm not really sure how revolutionary that is, other than it just being more effective. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's interesting, but I want to talk about a different part of this too. So Joe Russo, again, another very successful filmmaker, one of my favorites, but he was talking about how AI could take control of the film industry in 2 years.
Hmm.
Okay. And what I mean by take control is making movies. Okay. So reading from this article here, um, he says he's on the board of a few AI companies, which is interesting. So there are AI companies that are developing AI to protect you from AI, he says, which that should put some people's mind at ease. But just imagine there's like an AI war going on at all times.
Well, of course.
But yeah, so anyway, going on to he says in 2 years, AI can create a movie. Okay. Now it's very non-specific, but what he says here is potentially what you could do with AI is obviously use it to engineer storytelling and change storytelling. So you have a constantly evolving story, either in a game or in a movie or a TV show. You could walk into your house and save the AI on your streaming platform. Hey, I want a movie starring my photoreal avatar and Marilyn Monroe's photoreal avatar. I want it to be a rom-com because I've had a rough day. Yo, that's weird, bro.
That is.
It renders a very competent story with dialogue that mimics your voice. It mimics your voice, and suddenly now you have a rom-com starring you that's 90 minutes long, so you can curate your story specifically to you. Gosh, and that's actually exactly the girl that I was going to reference. She's in the corner here.
Mm-hmm.
If I could put me in a rom-com with Elizabeth Olsen, oh man. Oh man. But okay, first of all, what's interesting about that example is it's so poignant because it's so creepy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like this person has had a long day, and so they put themselves in a romantic situation with a dead actress.
Yeah.
But because artificial intelligence has so much to go off of, it can accurately and adequately recreate that dead actress and put them in in that kind of a situation.
Yeah. No, you're right.
God, that's so crazy.
It's kind of crazy. It really is crazy. Like, just to think of the thought process, or just honestly to think that that's even something that is possible.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's actually, and this
Or
is where I
could be
really
possible.
wanted to go with the discussion, is I didn't think we were thinking big enough of what this could mean, and that really is mind-blowing, right? So what would that mean? I mean, that would put, what I equate this to already? And I hate this platform with every ounce of my being, but Snapchat, you know what I mean? You
No,
have
I know.
those.
Snapchat is interesting.
I hate it so much, but you have those Bitmoji stories. You know what I'm saying? And it puts your little cartoon avatar in a situation with another person on your friends list, their cartoon avatar. And all of a sudden, you guys are just having fun shenanigans together,
Yeah, that's
And
true.
yeah,
Well,
so
Snapchat already has its own little AI bot now.
it does, which is a variant of ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, I could see that moving in that direction too. But yeah, man, I mean, I don't know. See, that to me is a totally different set of circumstances. If you could create a virtual rendering that looks real of whatever situation you want, like replace Lil Bow Wow with me and like Mike.
That'd be interesting.
No, I want a one-on-one game with Airbud, but I win.
Hey,
I show that dog who's boss, man.
exactly. I don't know, man. Airbud always wins in his movies.
That's not mine, man. 32 points. He was unstoppable. He's a dog. Yeah. Man, I don't know. That's really kind of hard to wrap my head around. What are your thoughts on all of that?
It is. It's one of those things that it's hard to think of it being possible without with such little direction, right? I think that's my biggest thing, because I have seen something that was really interesting that was put out, I think it's about a month ago or something like that, where these two these two YouTubers, one of their biggest things is that they will create videos critiquing video effects, right?
Okay.
And so what they ended up doing, though, is they created a really quick short film, but it was like an animated film, right? Which was really interesting, because what it was a fully done AI film where AI put in the set pieces, AI drew them in an animated style. AI did like all the stuff. They added most of and all they did was just have themselves moving around, right, and doing certain motions or whatever like that. So I think it kind of took the internet by storm by saying, AI just created an anime or something like that,
Yeah.
because it was drawn in that kind of animation or an anime art style. And it was just taking the video of them acting out certain things, and then they told the AI, "Hey, we want to do this, we want it to look like this," and it kind of did everything. And so to think of it to where you just tell the AI, "Hey, this and this," and just put that together, I can see the evolution, but it's still really hard to wrap my head around to see it get to that point, to that level. But I mean, I feel like we're already kind of seeing that. We're seeing how fast and how quickly it can evolve.
Yeah, which I think the point of Joe Russo, um, you know, I don't know, man. Well, I guess what I want to say is this: I don't see how that could all happen in 2 years. How we could be at that point in 2 years. I
Hmm.
think the starting point of that, yeah, for sure, that could be in 2 years.
Hmm.
But what's interesting is what he's talking about is basically after you put in that um, query, if you will, the AI takes over from there, and it's constantly creating based off of what's happened. You know,
Hmm.
um, that's what I would imagine. So it's constantly assessing what it's written and being like, where do I go from here? Um, man, that'd be kind of funny too to put like, how WandaVision had those fake commercials in there.
Hmm.
And really, even those commercials were like a subtle way to propel the story.
Hmm.
Dude, that'd be actually really cool to put in like a fake TV show, like whatever, whatever it is, something like that.
That would be dope.
Yeah. But no, uh, this is my thing about it. I don't think it'd be immediate, but that's something totally different to me because I started thinking of things while you were talking about like situations you could put us in that would be funny and
Hmm.
entertaining, right? Like like Dragon Ball, right? Like you and I are both in Dragon Ball.
Hmm.
Or we have a series of like Hodge twin style videos, like the old school Hodge twin style videos.
Hmm.
But then what made me think about this was that because I thought about that and I was like, well, then who would need the Hodge twins anymore? But then I was like, wait, but who would need anyone anymore?
Mm.
Just create your own entertainment
Hmm.
always. You're never going to need to go to the movies. You're never going to need a new TV show, right? Because you
Hmm.
could constantly say, hey, this person, put them in, a show and all that kind of stuff. I don't know where the AI is getting enough data to create that for non-famous people. I don't know where that all is coming from.
I mean, it's not that hard. Think about it. Social media, right? We upload tons of videos as well as pictures to social media, um, to where
Sure.
it's not that hard. Now, of course, if people don't have a social media account, then it'd be a little bit harder there. But I mean, I feel like you can up. It's not hard because of the amount of information that is already out there for people to be able to replicate someone easily, right?
Yeah, I think the motion part would be a little hard, don't you? Like getting motion down correctly.
Yes, but at the same time, if you were to say, we already know that it does a pretty decent job of being able to um, replace a face, right, on a video that already has motion
Yeah.
and replace it with that. It's not that much harder to say you can feed in a little bit of your own motion and then that creates that portion, right? And then it just kind of interprets from there. Or even if you can somehow figure out like someone's motion or whatever like that, it may not be a perfect, but I feel like it can get pretty close.
Yeah. Well, I agree. Um, yeah, that would make sense how it could pull that for, again, non-famous people. It would be a close rendering for sure. And I'm sure that there'd be ways to make it more accurate if you chose to.
Hmm.
Um, but you know what this all makes me think of is a conversation you and I had at least a year ago. Talking about, and this was you saying this, that people are moving inward constantly, you know,
Hmm.
and eventually, I think in the direction of an entire virtual reality, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I can't really fathom that. I can't even really fathom what we're talking about with this, completely artificial, intelligent, created artificial movies, right? Or films or TV. You could do a whole series, dude. You could do a
Yeah.
whole series with whoever and whatever you want.
That's true. That's true. But you know what? You just gave me an amazing idea that I didn't even I feel like no one's really talked about, or at least a lot of people haven't even gotten onto. Sure, yeah, we can have it to where um it's creating these amazing movies by, full length movies or TV shows. But what if too, again, we're going into, say VR gets better or whatever like that, you can have it create full worlds for you to go to,
Yep.
um, as you're just roaming around like that,
Yeah.
without having any human intervention or whatever like that whatsoever. That would be amazing, right? To be able to be fully immersed into a whole world that was created all by an AI.
Yeah. Um, and actually, it makes me want to ask the question that we discussed last week when it comes to music. Do you think that there's a future where you go to the movies, right? And you don't know any of the stars. There's like no name recognition per se, but all you know is that this movie has been getting a lot of talk, and it's a completely AI created movie by just some guy or girl. Um, Sitting around the couch, said, "Hey, so and so AI, create this," and it does, and it pops off. It goes viral. Everyone loves it. I mean, is that a future that we could see 30 years down the road?
I think so. I think so. If AI continues at the rate at which it's growing currently, or even if it starts to slow down and taper off, I feel like we can easily get there because we are already kind of getting to a point where it's AI teaching AI,
Yeah.
right? Where they're teaching each other, they're helping each other learn, and they're getting better. So it's not that far fetched to say 30 years from now, we have something that is able to, create a whole movie without anyone ever noticing that it wasn't created by an actual person.
Yeah.
Like, and then say like at the end, right? Somebody's sitting in like an armchair and saying like this whole movie was created by an AI, and then people are like, oh, or
Like,
something.
I did that. That was
Yeah.
me. That's crazy. Yeah, well, it'd probably be streaming at home. You probably wouldn't go to the theater for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild, man. I mean, these are all things, I remember thinking periodically growing up of like everything that's happened during my life is cool. but it's not anything that you would think, holy crap, like where did that come from, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like people riding horses for ages, all of a sudden, somebody that was born in the 1880s eventually was living in a world where everyone around him drove a Model T,
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
and that had to be surreal.
Yep.
And, having grown up likely riding a horse. And so, like, we have not really had that moment. Like, yeah, we stream music, right?
I feel like we have. I feel like
Well,
we've had a lot of those moments.
is it maybe just in hindsight that it seems like it was easy to predict? Because, I mean, like, cellular phones were technically around before we were born. They were satellite phones.
Yes, yes, but not in the way that we use them today. No, like I feel
No,
like we never would have thought of it getting to this level. Sure, there was an evolution, but to a level to where you have the internet at your fingertips. I feel like internet as well as a camera, right? A camera at your fingertips at all times.
yeah. No, I agree. I just think like the more we talk about AI and the more time goes by, the more we're realizing how dramatically everything is going to change
Yeah,
and quicker than we thought too, and I think just from that perspective, it's kind of hard to compare really to many other things in history,
yeah,
uh, that everyone will be impacted in it by some way. And I mean that like literally everyone at some point will have their life transformed by AI. Whether it's a rich person who works with an AI as a virtual assistant every day, like Tony Stark, right?
mm-hmm.
Whether it's a farmer whose machines are AI trained and can take care of his pastures and farm ground and all that using artificial intelligence learning, whether it's a homeless person who, thanks to AI learning capabilities, now has resources to live comfortably and have the ability to get back on their feet, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Um, I think that's really where I'm coming from. And it's cool. And I enjoy doing this every week where we honestly learn. Like, I don't think there's been one time since ChatGPT came out where we were like, hey, let's take that topic and save it for next week, because it's been every single week something new, you know?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
And
it's
so
or go ahead.
that's what makes it really fascinating to me. What were you going to say?
No, no, I was just gonna say, yeah, yeah. It's insane how at the rate at which everything is developing so quickly, right? It's similar to I feel like when like EVs really started to catch on, right? Um, or really, I even like say last year, right? To think of how many EVs have been created in the short span of what a few years is kind of already mind-boggling. But this is at a that's way faster, right? You know, the fact that these AIs are creating so many opportunities for people, and they're advancing so quickly, and they're advancing to a point that I think even it was maybe last episode or the episode before then where we were saying literally like a year ago, the most advanced AI that we would have is like Google Assistant.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um,
And not only is it advancing quickly, but to your point that you're making right now, it's accessible.
yes.
And that was the point we are making with the filmmaking side of this earlier. But it is like all of this is accessible. Some of it to have more of an understanding of navigating the web or coding or all that kind of stuff than others, you know. Um, but for the most part, this is accessible and understandable, and that's what makes it such a game changer, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It also, I mean, with these chatbots too, it's already with being AI, right? Has already kind of changed the way that we think of search,
Mm,
how we would search something.
yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Now, yeah, there's so much that we could touch on with that, but I do want to say that I think, um, yeah, what's really intriguing to me about the filmmaking side of all of this is just how this could take the storytelling process to the next level. It's going to help with storytelling. I already know that just from what I do and how Adobe's going to transform that. And then with the visual effects side of things, making it much more realistic, able to tell stories in a different way. Um, actually, I can think of a non creepy, and I know I'm kind of delving back this direction. Um, I can think of a non creepy version of this that you could use AI to replicate a deceased actor. You remember, like on the History Channel, right? When we were young, and they would have like some guy that was supposed to be Al Capone, right? In a New York gangster kind of retelling of an event. Dude looked nothing like Al Capone, sounded nothing like Al Capone. But you
Mm-hmm.
could use AI to retell those stories, and that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Perhaps nothing more than self-gratifying, but still it would be interesting, you know.
Yeah. No, no, you're right. That'd be cool. I would think that would be really funny. Wait, did you also made me think of Drunk History. The show
Yeah.
Drunk History. That would be kind of funny to see an AI do the recreations for those, right? For those history people or whatever like that. But then you could
Yeah.
also, have like the actor as like or the person who's telling the story as like the face of whoever the person is or something similar to that. I think that would be kind of interesting
Yeah.
and
No,
funny.
that's a great way to look at that as well. Um it really does open up for more storytelling and possibilities as far as that goes. Um but yeah, I think on the other side of this, with filmmaking and AI, I think it would be fun to have an AI where I could create a story, right? But do I want it to be, because I don't want it to, do I want it to erase the entire film industry? Absolutely not. I think it'd be fun to do every once in a while, but I still want to watch normal TV shows. I still want to watch movies, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I feel like we're never going to get to a point to where like the only stuff that people want to watch is like AI driven films or whatever like that
Right.
because I mean, think about it already. People like to listen to, still like to listen to CDs, right? People still like to listen to vinyl. Um,
Sure do.
even though those are different forms than, or those can be more cumbersome forms of being able to listen to music. Um, Rather than like streaming it or whatever like that, people enjoy that tactile feeling of like being able to grab a CD and you place it into your CD player and then you listen to it, right? Or even grabbing a vinyl and plopping it there and doing the needle and all that stuff. Like they like that portion, and I think it's going to be something similar with the film industry where it's like there is just going to be something that AI probably won't be able to replicate. I could be eating my words, right? If I'm thinking about this, or future me or whatever like that is looking
Yeah.
back at this episode and saying like, oh man, I didn't know what I was talking about.
This is the first time I
But
ever heard you say that too. It would replicate something,
yeah, well, I mean, but I really do feel like that there's always going to be that need and that want that we will have for our own creations rather than ones that are created strictly from AI or something similar to that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah. Well, I think we had a great discussion on this topic. It's an interesting thing to look at. And honestly just wonder if it will even be noticeable in the years to come how AI VFX are working in film, you know?
Yeah.
I would say probably not. They already do a good enough job. I rewatched Top Gun the other day. That's why I brought it up earlier.
Mm-hmm.
The new one. And I could not tell what was VFX and what was real. Other than the cockpit shots. I knew all the cockpit shots were real, of course. But I mean, even uh this Navy ship that was near the aircraft carrier launches these uh, Tomahawk missiles, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like it's not real because obviously they're not going to launch Tomahawk missiles for a movie.
Yeah.
But like you can't visually tell it's not real, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of crazy. So anyway, it'll be interesting to see how that opens up. Maybe even ideas we haven't even thought of, you know.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
all right. Well, I think we had a good discussion on this. Thank you guys so much for jumping in on it with us. Please remember to check out the link below wherever you're listening, wherever you're watching, so you can leave us a rating review, jump on the live stream with us, and check out our shop for some good, clean merch. So, thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch up with you next week.